welcome back to the Authority X Factor. I'm your host, Kelly Schuknecht. And in my book, Unlocking Your Authority X Factor, I talk about the moment where the story you've been living behind the scenes collides with the decision about who you want to be next. Our guest today is a master at navigating that exact turning point. Lance Robbins is a partner to executive leadership and a specialist in helping organizations navigate rapid growth and high stakes complexity. He has led HR for globally distributed biotech firms across 6 countries, guiding them through everything from organizational restructuring to performance system redesign. But Lance didn't stay in the corporate supporting character role. He took his decades of experience and built his own bridge, specialized advisory practice called KeelHR, and a highly respected podcast called Fractional, which I was a guest on at one point, which serves as a vital resource for fractional service providers everywhere. Today, we're going to talk to Lance about how he stopped being a line item on someone else's budget and started owning his own value. We'll dive into how he became a leading voice in the remote work and fractional space and uncover the specific authority X factor that allows him to bring order to high growth chaos. Quite the intro, Lance.
Well, did I write that or did you?
I
That sounds
wrote that
good. Okay,
because that's
that sounds
my
better than I
authority.
would have said. I was like, wow, where's she getting this? Did she ask me for a bio? I don't think I wrote that. That's really good though.
No, my authority X factor is taking someone's story and turning it into like how they present themselves to the world, right? So I took some liberty with that, but I'm going to start out by defining the authority X factor. So I call that, or the way that I refer to your authority X factor is that unique skill set and experience that you have that led you to the place where you are now and how you are best equipped to serve people. For me, like I said, my background in publishing, my background in marketing, my work in the thought leadership space kind of led me to, how I help people with developing their thought leadership platform. In fact, you were very instrumental in my journey in discovering that, right? Because you were somebody who I reached out to coach me when I first started my business a year and a half ago. And, in those early days, which you probably remember, I was trying to figure out how to go to market. What are those things that I am best able to help people with? What makes the most sense for me to show up? Even though I originally reached out to you because I thought I was going to be a fractional CMO, I decided to go a different direction, which is how I discovered what that authority X factor is for me. So that said, Lance, how would you define your authority X factor?
Well, first of all, such a privilege to be able to work with you as a coach, Kelly. And I take zero credit for your success in where you are now, but a lot of pride, if that adds up, a lot of pride in it. So really happy to see what you're doing and thank you for the invitation to talk about this. Yeah, this is a great question. And since you told me it was coming, my wheels have been turning. I've had a lot of different experiences. And what I think brings me to where I am today is that I'm really a true expert at being a generalist. So if you haven't read the book, for all your listeners here, Range,
Okay.
by David Epstein, I think is the name. I'm just pulling this out of memory. It's been years since I read it. But the point is that we have specialists and we have generalists in the world. Mm-hmm. And I've often felt that because I'm not a specialist in too many areas or, in a clear area, maybe there's not a lot of value there. And what I've learned is that it takes a unique person to be a specialist at being a generalist. And that's definitely where I see myself sitting. So, starting my career out in reforestation and helping to build a company that was operating across the entire southeastern United States with over 300 people and 20 different crews, physically, planting trees in different parts of the country. I learned a huge amount there. And then I was recruited to a web development agency. I didn't know anything about web development, but I knew about business operations. And they were faced with the challenge of growth. They needed to add engineers, and they needed to add them fast, and they needed to be really, really good ones, like top shelf WordPress engineers. And so I helped to build a recruiting system function apparatus there, and we added like 100 plus senior WordPress experts to this web development agency. And so I learned all the ins and outs of what it takes for growth and talent acquisition and recruitment and the relationship building and the sales skills that are involved, because you're selling an opportunity and you're closing the deal with candidates. And so I took all of that, and then I launched into my own fractional work, where I decided to take some of these experiences and see how I could help businesses in a more portfolio approach, which led me to a few different leadership roles. The one that stands out the most, you referenced, in biotech across 6 different countries, working with this startup out of California, where I'm serving as their fractional head of human resources, and pulling on my other major life experiences and finding a way to help develop and build what these folks need to run their complex business right now. And what I've found to be true is I love the energy of diving in, learning something new, building something meaningful. But where I tend to start to feel a disconnect is the ongoing operation of something that's already been built. And so this brings me all the way full circle around to what you asked about, KeelHR. So I created Keel because I think I'm probably not the only one like this. A lot of other entrepreneurs who launched their own fractional practice, founders who start their own businesses, other executives probably get fired up about some of the same things that I do, but the day-to-day administration operation of a function within the business, they probably love to work with a partner that they could outsource that to. And that's what KeelHR exists to do. So I'm continuing to get my builder, grower, strategic, generalist experience going as the founder, co-founder, and CEO at Keel. But I'm building a team that helps with this day-to-day admin and operations to execute on those things that aren't my X factor.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's hearing that journey is so interesting, because what you're describing, I think, is so much of the reality of people, at our stage in our careers. Like, you look back and you're like, oh, I ended up in this thing. I had this opportunity, whatever. Like, a lot of our career path seems accidental, right? It's these things that these opportunities, like you were talking about the web developers and working with web developers, and you became specialized in that area because you knew that world. You were hiring developers, and you just learned that, right? I feel like so much for me in my journey has been accidental, but you look back and you're like, oh, now it makes sense, like what has been happening, or why I was down this path, or I don't know. It feels accidental, but I think that we often take a lot of that, either take it for granted, or we also look back at those things and go, oh, it was random. I had this opportunity, and we don't notice, like, kind of those maybe like those oh my gosh, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Like the theme of the things that we have experienced in our career, right? Because when I think of you, like, you have this experience, we first connected because you were in the remote work space. Like, you
yeah,
were
I skipped over that, didn't I?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But that's how I knew you, because you had a name in that space. Before remote work was as popular as it is now. This was before 2020. And then you started your podcast helping people. So I associate you with, your personal brand to me. Well, a few things your personal brand is. So remote work, fractional work, the mustache. We can't skip over that. So anyone who is listening and not watching this, you are known for your mustache. You used to do Mustache Mondays, right?
Yeah, that's a
Mustache
piece of
Mondays.
content that hasn't been around for a while, but yeah,
I remember
it's
that.
if you see my logo for my consulting practice, it's a caricatured uh, icon with the mustache on it. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, those are all things that kind of are part of your personal brands, like what people associate with you, right? But then the HR piece. So, um, what actually led? So you were doing fractional CMO or CMO, fractional HR work, and then what led you from there to start Keel HR?
yeah. So as a fractional, we a lot of people they reach a point in their career where they've done leadership. They're maybe a specialist in their area, right? And so they think, oh, I want to do this for myself now, and so they move into a independent role, a fractional role, however you want to call it, a consultant role, um, and what they want to do for the most part is take that strategic capability that they've developed as an expert in their field and go apply that to 3 or 4 different customers at a time. And what happened for me and what I've seen happen for a lot of other people, at least in my industry, my vertical and people, HR, is that a small business says, great, I can't afford a CHRO, but I would love to work with you as a fractional. And hey, good news, you are the entire HR function.
Yeah,
Um, and here's somebody who hasn't executed payroll themselves in several years is now running payroll and um, filing I-9s and doing e-verifies and all the stuff that, when you have a team, someone on your team does this. And so I, I thought, man, I wish I had someone who just did this for me. Um, and I heard from other fractional HR people that they wish they had someone that just did this for them. And
hmm
so that's where Keel HR came from was let's build a service agency that takes care of the stuff that people who are experts in their field don't want to do. And if a customer that's a small business, a startup, a professional services agency is saying, great, you're our new fractional person and you're going to do everything top to bottom, the hourly rate that they're paying for someone to click submit on payroll and file an I-9 and a W-4 is way too high. That is not a good use of the budget you have for me. So it makes a lot of sense to just take the operational, tactical, administrative execution stuff and partner it with a group that's designed to do that at scale. And that's what Keel is for.
Yeah, yeah. So what's the size of an organization that makes sense to work with Keel HR? Because I imagine if they're bringing on you, the way that you'd first described it, it's more like the idea there was more like not a consultant, like an HR consultant, like somebody who is handling stuff for us. But like that would be a pretty small organization if one person could handle everything, right? Like the hiring, all the paperwork, all the whatever. But what size, what at what point does it make sense for them to work with Keel?
Yeah, good question. I usually think about this in terms of headcount and not revenue
Yeah. Yeah.
necessarily. So um, for a company that's, I don't know, up to 20 people or so, there's really great out of the box solutions in the form of a PEO usually. Um, and that'd be my first recommendation. Hey, just find a PEO to partner with. Keel's not a PEO, a professional employment organization. Kelly, I think you use one as well for your
Yeah.
team.
Yeah.
So partner with a PEO. They can really help you. If you need more help than the PEO offers, Keel is a great PEO companion. We have a layer that can just sit right there, employee relations issues, strategic questions, a thought partner to a founder. Keel's great for that. And an employee up to 20, 25 people. When you get on the other side of that number, it starts to make sense to look at, should we build our own HR tech stack? Because hey, we're at 25, 30 people now, and we think we might be at 60 or 100 next year. We're outgrowing services that we have now. And this is where Keel's primary offering, which is our HR ops, is a great partner for a founder that maybe wants to hire an HR manager or someone, but someone who needs a lot of help, or maybe they're working with a fractional HR person, or maybe the founder is still doing it themselves, but they need to offboard this tactical and operational busyness, and that's what Keel is there for. So somewhere between 10 15 people up to, usually the financial trade-off is around 100 or so people, and then build your in-house team and just work with an advisor like me, or
Yeah.
or our bench of advisors through Keel, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. What about industries? Are there specific industries that Keel works with?
So Keel is relatively industry agnostic.
Okay.
It can work with just about anybody. But where I think the greatest match is in creative agencies, marketing agencies, web development agencies. The agency space is a really good partner for Keel. SaaS is a good partner for Keel. Software as a service is a good partner. Areas that can work with Keel, but what I'm finding is they struggle to free up some of the cash it takes to have a partner, are trades and local brick and mortar. So here I'm just kind of rambling, but this is my recent theory or discovery is that a local brick and mortar, unless it's opening new locations, is going to be relatively fixed based on the square footage of their business front.
Mm-hmm.
So while they might want someone to help them with their payroll and their benefits and whatever, whatever they've got going now is probably working okay enough that they're not going to expand the budget for that to bring in a partner. And unless they're growing, that pain isn't going to increase. So they tend to just stick with what they've got.
Yeah.
So if you are a like a dentist and you're opening 2 new locations next year, Keel could be a really good partner as you think about scaling your operation. But if you're a dentist and you have 12 chairs and you've got it already figured out, you're probably okay. You probably don't need us.
Yeah. Yeah. Got it. Okay. So at what point kind of in your journey did you go from, one of the things I think about you is like you are good at that personal brand piece, right? When you started your Fractional podcast, it's like you knew how that played into kind of what you were doing and how you wanted to help people. At what point did you know that, the pivot? Like what point did you know that like, okay, I am doing this fractional role and now I want to, it's not really a pivot. I mean, it's adding on to what you're already doing, but that you wanted to start Keel and have like that additional offering for people?
Let's see. That was probably middle of last year. I was thinking about diversifying my revenue streams. As a fractional, it's hard to be deeply embedded in more than a couple of organizations at a time, which means you've got a lot of eggs in one basket or 2 baskets or 3 baskets. Some people can handle 4. That's a lot of context switching and context to hang on to there. So I was inspired to move something like Keel to the forefront because I wanted to find opportunities that would diversify revenue for me as a business owner and also not have a cap based on my time and availability. Technology and a team can allow a company like Keel to grow indefinitely. How big do we want it to go? So long as there's demand for it, we could continue to grow. So I think that the upside potential there is really, really great. And I don't want to cram that many customers into my life as a fractional service provider that I'd be going crazy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Now, tell me about the Fractional podcast. Is that something you're going to continue doing with Keel? Why did you start the Fractional podcast, and how does that help you reach your audience? Is that part of your strategy now?
Okay, yeah. So all right, the story first, and then the strategy
Okay.
now. The story is that when I started my work as a fractional, and my co-host Joshua, we were both starting our independent career journey at about the same time. And we're former colleagues from the web agency XWP that we worked at together. And so we'd text each other, and occasionally I'd call him, "Hey, would you look at my proposal for this? Like, I just need a sanity check. Hey, how are you thinking about pricing? Are you doing like a retainer? Are you doing hourly?" And so we would, be back and forth, and we soon said, like, I bet you there's other people that are like trying to solve these exact same problems, answer these exact same questions. Why don't we just start recording a podcast chronicling our entry into this
Yeah.
fractional world and what's going on with us in our lives? And so we started that. And then pretty soon we realized, hey, we could probably learn a lot from other people who are like a year or two ahead of us. So we started bringing in guests and picking their brains and recording the podcast there. And so the story behind it is, it was a way for us to kind of explore problem solving and then learn from other practitioners who are successful, and ultimately ended up being a way to give back to this
Yeah.
entrepreneurship community, where now we just recorded a new episode on Wednesday. It's releasing on Monday this week, or next week. So we're able to just keep creating content and giving back to this community of others who are curious about moving into independent careers, or having a portfolio career. And I think, we knew each other long before the podcast, but I do think the podcast was a bit of a, like, onto your radar that I was doing this fractional thing
Yeah.
when you approached me. And I've had a couple others reach out. And you mentioned coaching, and coaching is something I really love to do. I have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of fun with it. It's really a great and rewarding piece of work. And so the one aspect is that there may be fractionally curious folks who are looking for a coach, and the podcast would be a natural way to funnel them, towards myself and to Joshua
Yeah.
to provide that service. The other is that I'm building a strong network of other fractional leaders who from time to time need my services, and from time to time I need theirs. And
Yeah.
so it's created a bit of a referral network that generates opportunities for each other, which has been really great too. And how does Keel relate to the podcast? I think it's just a service that fractional COOs,
Yeah.
founders, other CHROs that are, whether they're fractional or not, right? It's a service that could be really valuable to them. And so long as it's attached to me and my personal brand, then my community has access to that. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
does that answer your
Yeah.
question?
No, I love that. I mean, I do see you as, a thought leader when it comes to remote work, a thought leader when it comes to fractional work, right? And then I love how it's like this, you're learning from your guests. You're also kind of building a network of people as you have guests on, and you're also, I mean, it's somewhat promoting your fractional services. But you're right. When before I lost my job, I had reached out to you saying, "Hey, I'm thinking about this. Like, would you be open to coaching me?" And at the time, you weren't doing that. But by the time I lost my job, then you said, "Yeah." So you were top of mind because you were doing this podcast. I see your content on LinkedIn. So occasionally, you would post an episode and I would see it. And so it just reminded me that you were part of that world, and you were the first person I thought of when I decided to go out on my own and do my own thing. So I can see how all of that works together. And I think you do that very well, maybe somewhat, um, not accidentally, but like the things don't necessarily all, like, it's not this cohesive thing necessarily, but it's like the pieces of you. It's like more of your personal brand and the
Yeah.
pieces of you that make you you.
Yeah, I was going to say, if somebody listening to this wants to know my playbook or wants to copy me, I would say don't. Ask Kelly about that, because I am not a great example of really having a structured, strategic presence. But I'm doing some of the things that fit in with my interests and the time I have to put towards it and the budget I have to put towards it, and it's producing some results. I do think if I was to bring in someone like Kelly and say, "Can you take this to the next level?" Like it would be much better, and I could do a lot more. So, um, yeah, if you're listening and you're like me, you should probably just work with Kelly. And
Well, I appreciate you saying that, but also, I mean, that's been a big part of my journey as well, was kind of doing the things that I enjoyed, and it led to the thing that made sense for me, right? Like, so my personal brand was very much developed on just what I enjoyed blogging about book marketing. And so I did that for years, and I enjoyed, doing video content on marketing and book related stuff. And then it all kind of led to like me becoming known as a certain thing. And then when I launched my business, it was seemingly easy because people associated me with those things. So I think it's okay to develop your personal brand. There's kind of two forms of thought on that, like the being very specific in a niching down to what you do, or like when it comes to content, or you are the niche, right? And so like all of the things that make you you and the things that you put content out about, it's you're the niche, right? So if I want to do content around I don't know, knitting and marketing, whatever, like people start to associate me with both things, and that's okay. I don't have to pick one or the other. I can do both. I don't knit, so we're not doing that, but you know what I'm saying.
yeah, and it's
um
okay to reinvent yourself from time to time, right?
yes.
I'm changing. I'm picking up something new, and that's what we see here with Keel, right? I'm trying something new. I haven't always done this, and
Yeah.
I'm going to give this a try. And it's part of who I am. And if it doesn't go well and it fizzles out, that's okay. I tried it, and everyone got to see.
Yeah. So you might have already answered my next question, but the last question I want to ask you is, if you were to talk to yourself, your day one you is what I call it. So that version of you that was just at the beginning of all of this, like, right, you're maybe in one of those early jobs thinking about like there might be something better out there than this, right? You're working for somebody else and you're thinking maybe I want to be doing my own thing someday. What one piece of advice would you give that day one version of you now?
Mm. Okay, let me ask a clarifying question. When you say day one, do you mean like this is your first real job, early adulthood, or like how far back are we going when you talk about day one? Because I feel like I see my life in a lot of different chapters, and so
So I would say let's put a parameter around it. Like the first time you ever thought maybe I should do my own thing.
okay, got it. Um, yeah, I think the advice or what I would say to myself then is you don't know what you don't know, and that's okay. Go ahead, but definitely lean into people who've been there before. Try to associate yourself with and get into the same room with people who are 2 years ahead of where you are right now, and they are where you want to be, and learn from them. Um,
Well, I love that because again, you were the first person I reached out to, and I wanted coaching because I needed help, right? So you said you are still doing coaching.
yeah,
Yeah.
I am, absolutely
Okay.
am. Hmm.
Okay. So I do highly recommend that for anyone who is thinking about going out on their own, or maybe like early in their journey, or maybe they're not early in their journey, but they're like, I need some help. I had a great experience, and you say you don't take any credit for my success, but I will say I needed that. I needed you at the beginning because you and I know very well that our sessions became very much therapy sessions. Was like me going, oh my gosh, this is what I'm dealing with. What do I do? And just like talking through it. Like I'd never experienced that before. All of the lessons I learned in that first year of business, everything was new. Even though I'm 20 years into my career, everything was new, and so having someone to talk to was really valuable to me. So I will say so I like your advice of like talking to somebody who's a little bit further down the road that might be able to help you, whether it's a coach or somebody, a mentor in the space that you can reach out to. I do think that's really, really helpful, and just to feel like you're not alone in that journey. Well, Lance, we will, of course, link to your website, your mustache website, but and KeelHR as well. But how else can listeners and viewers find you online and get in touch with you?
Yeah, the best place to find me is on LinkedIn. So I'm there, Lance Robbins on LinkedIn. I think in the show notes you'll have a link there, and to the Fractional podcast. You can find us at fractional.fm and tune into what we're talking about there. And if you're curious about entrepreneurship, got a lot of good content there for you.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Lance. Thanks for being on the Authority X Factor and sharing your Authority X Factor with us and your journey.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thanks for watching. My book, Unlocking Your Authority X Factor, is now available on Amazon. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. See you next week.